Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into OpenAI's brand new flagship model, GPT-5. And let me tell you, according to them, this isn't just, another little update. No, they're saying this is a fundamental shift in what AI can even do.
Right from the get-go, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman, he didn't just call it a new tool. He framed it as a PhD-level expert. Now, you might think, okay, that's just marketing speak, but it's really not. It's a very deliberate statement. They're positioning this thing for serious, high-stakes professional work. The kind of stuff where getting it right is everything.
And this analogy, it just perfectly captures the huge leap in ambition here. Think about it. We went from GPT-4, which they called a college student, straight to a PhD expert. The message couldn't be clearer. They expect this AI to have truly deep, super reliable knowledge, especially in niche, specialized areas.
But here's the real question, right? Is the hype actually real? Is this a genuine breakthrough? Or is the AI industry kind of hitting a wall, a performance plateau? So over the next few minutes, that's what we're going to unpack. What is GPT-5? Why is it built so differently? And what in the world does it mean for us?
All right, so first up, let's really dig into this whole PhD expert thing. It's a super ambitious label for sure, but it also puts a ton of pressure on them to deliver.
See, by calling it an expert, OpenAI basically walked straight into what people call a credibility trap. When you set the bar that high, even a tiny little mistake suddenly becomes a huge deal. It gets totally magnified. Case in point. There was this simple decimal subtraction error during the live launch demo. Normally, not a big deal. But because it's a PhD expert, it blew up and became a major headline. Why? Well, because you just don't expect a PhD to mess up basic arithmetic, right?
So what's actually powering this supposed expert brain? Because this isn't just a case of them making the old model bigger. No, we got to pop the hood here and look at what is a completely new architecture.
So the secret sauce, the real key innovation here is something they're calling a real-time router. And the best way to think about it is like an air traffic controller, but for your questions. It looks at your prompt the instant you send it and figures out, okay, what kind of horsepower do we need for this job?
So here's how that plays out for you. Let's say you ask a simple question. The router sends it to a fast, cheap model. Easy. But if you throw a really complex, thorny problem at it, it instantly reroutes that request to a much more powerful, heavy-duty thinking model. It's a really smart way to balance incredible performance with cost, which, let's be honest, you have to do when you have 700 million people using your service every week.
And this is what reveals the whole strategy. See, GPT-5 isn't just one AI. It's actually a whole family of them, all managed by that smart router. You've got your main model for most things, a beefy thinking model for the hard stuff, a pro version for paid users, and even a little mini model for when you hit your usage caps. It's not one brain, it's a whole team of specialists.
Okay, so we've got this new multimodal brain. The big question now is, how well does it actually work? The test scores, the benchmarks, they are super impressive. But they also show some pretty surprising blind spots.
When it comes to math and pure logic, its abilities are, frankly, stunning. The top-tier version scored a perfect 100% on the Amy benchmark. And just so you know, this is a notoriously difficult math competition for some of the brightest students out there. Getting a perfect score, that signals a massive, profound leap in its ability to actually reason.
But, and this is a big but, here's the twist. For all that brain power, its vision is surprisingly bad. On a test where it has to pinpoint and count objects in a picture, it scored a measly 1.5. The state of the art is 13.3. So it can talk about what's in an image, but it really struggles to tell you exactly where things are.
So what about reliability? The whole hallucination problem where the AI just makes stuff up. Well, OpenAI is claiming a huge reduction in those. And if you look here, you can see that when you kick in that powerful thinking mode, those major factual errors supposedly drop by a massive 80% compared to what we had before. That is a huge improvement. So it's smarter, it's more reliable, but here's where it gets complicated. For all its new power, the actual experience of using it is incredibly polarizing. It seems like people either absolutely love the new GPT-5 or they feel like it's kind of lost its soul.
And here's the divide, right down the middle. On one side, you have technical and professional users. They love it. They say it's direct, it's honest, it's a clear improvement. But on the other side, you've got the creative and casual users, and they're saying it's become sterile and clinical. They feel like it's lost that humane, almost friend-like personality that made the last version such an amazing partner for brainstorming.
So how do you fix a personality problem like that? Well, OpenAI's solution is customization. They're actually letting you pick a personality for the AI. You want a cynic? A robot? A listener? It's basically them admitting that, yeah, the perfect AI assistant is definitely not one size fits all.
And all of this is feeding into a much bigger shift, moving way beyond a simple chatbot. I mean, it's got persistent memory now, so it remembers your conversations. It has a bit of emotional intelligence, so it can read the room. And it's getting these deep integrations into your apps, like your calendar and email. It's really turning into what a lot of people are calling an agent to coworker, an AI that doesn't just chat with you, it actually does stuff for you.
So, let's get to the bottom line. What does all this mean for us, for our jobs, for society, for the future? The implications are, well, they're huge. And for a lot of people, they're frankly a little bit scary. Even OpenAI's own CEO, Sam Altman, seems to be feeling a mix of awe and some serious apprehension. He's compared developing this thing to the Manhattan Project. And he even admitted to feeling useless after he saw what it could do. I mean, when the guy who built it says that, it's a pretty sobering look at just how high the stakes are here.
The pricing is also a huge part of the story. At first glance, you might think, oh, this is great, it's cheaper. The cost to send a prompt in is down by half. But here's the catch. The cost for the AI to think and generate a response, the output, is now 8 times more expensive. So what does that do? It gives you a huge financial incentive to ask simple questions, and it slaps you with a hidden penalty every time you want to use its deepest, most expert-level thinking.
And that leaves us right here, with a really fundamental question about where all of this is going. With an AI that can automate entire professional workflows, is this PhD expert just a more powerful tool for us to manage? Or is it the first step toward an agent that's going to compete with us? That's the huge debate that GPT-5 has just forced wide open.